Folks, welcome back to the PlayAction Pod. I'm your host, Christian McCullum. We've got a special guest, Gus from the Screen the Screener podcast. As we get to wrapping up March Madness here, we had to bring the heavy hitters in. So, Gus, thanks a lot for joining us.
No problem, Christian. Thanks for referring to me as a heavy hitter. I think I'm more of a light puncher, but we'll go with that. I like the description. Let's talk some college hoops, man.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's been a crazy tournament. How did it go for you and your picks and your wagers?
Well, I think that I'm in the same boat as everybody else here, and you like to hold on to the couple of picks that you feel like you nailed, and you want to keep kind of bragging about the picks you just missed, right? So I think the one place I'll go is Vermont. I really loved them in that game against Arkansas, and that might have been the closest game that Arkansas played the whole entire time up until, bowing out to Duke. So I love Vermont in that first round. I think a number of us were against Providence, and wrongly so. And I think they continue to prove like all the doubters wrong. And I loved Creighton in that first round matchup against San Diego State. We were lucky enough to go see the Big East tournament in person, Mike Randall and I, my co-host. And I really bought into that Creighton team. So I think those are a couple of the highlights right there. And, of course, it'd be silly, being based in New Jersey if we didn't bring up St. Peter's. The Peacocks really stole everybody's heart, and they definitely proved that this system, this 68-team system and the invite structure, it kind of works.
Yeah. And you talk about the Peacocks. So what we do at PlayAction Pools, we have a build your bankroll format where it's basically a virtual sports book, and everyone's kind of going at it and firing. And their Sweet 16 game against Purdue. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just doing to do it. I went in, put like 1,000 on the Peacocks money line, and they won. I'm so happy. And then I look around and like 5 other people in the contest did the same thing, only for like 2,500. So I thought I was going to gain all these points, and I missed. You mentioned Providence, and a lot of people were fading them. Is that just an analytics thing, just given all the close games where it's like there's so much variance involved, where they have such a good record in those close games? Is that why everyone's looking to fade them?
Well, I think it was two things. I think, number one, if you are a metrics person, you were definitely going to pay attention to that lower than normal KenPom number that's associated with a 4 seed. And I think you're also going to pay attention to their last game that they played previously leading into the tournament, which looked really ugly. It looked kind of terrible. So I think you had the bad taste in your mouth. You go back and check the metrics. None of this makes sense. I'm going to fade them. That seems like a good idea. And like they did all season, they proved us wrong.
That's right. So, and we're going to have, everyone's calling it obviously the Blue Blood Final Four. Everyone likes the Cinderellas early, but, in the end, I guess you can say North Carolina a little bit. But, what do you think? Let's start with Kansas game. We got Kansas-Villanova. Kansas is like -4, -4.5. Over-under sitting at like 133-ish. Oh, what's your thoughts on this game?
I really think that the under might be in play here just because Villanova knows that their guys are going to play 38 to 40 minutes. So if they're going to be gassed, they're obviously going to slow down the pace. They do not want to get in an up and down with Kansas. And Villanova's done nothing but force their pace on Big East teams and other teams all season. Kansas, they're okay with playing that pace as well, as we saw their last matchup and a couple of other matchups within the Big 12. So I think that's a good place to start your wagering if you're going to go that direction. And I'll tell you right now, because of the injury, people are going to get on Kansas and be like, yep, they have an All-America in Ochai Agbaji. They might have a big in McCormick that's going to give the size or vertically challenged Villanova team a little trouble. McCormick is so hot and cold. I kind of like that you're going to get some points to play around with Villanova here, and that maybe some of the money might be on the other side because of that injury. So I kind of like Villanova. And if I was going to lean one way or the other in this game, I think I would go there and grab whatever points you can grab.
Well, that's interesting. I was going to ask you about the Justin Moore injury, and so I hadn't thought about the total there, but that makes a lot of sense. And you think that injury could end up being overvalued by a lot of the public?
I think so. Here's why. They dealt with this exact same thing last season with their star point guard, Colin Gillespie. right? So they know what it's like to have their season cut short via injury and cut short while you're trying to achieve something really like monumental. They've seen that, done that before. And if you've been paying attention to these tournament games, Coach Jay Wright has done an unbelievable job of getting the younger Arcidiacono into the game for minutes in the first half just to get him a little taste, to get him a little feel. And then I think if you have like a former 5-star, Antoine, on the bench that could come in, he's going to get some burn too. So maybe you have him for a couple of plays where he gets explosive and can be efficient on the offensive end. I think Villanova is going to copy UNC's blueprint here, play their Iron 5, and have at it.
I know one guy that's probably going to be looking to rip up your bets right there is Remy Martin. I don't think that guy, he doesn't care what pace they play at. He's only got one, speed, go, go, go. He's been on fire this tournament. That's he's kind of been the boost that people didn't see coming for Kansas, huh?
Well, I think you can look at it two ways, right? Because he was voted preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. In my opinion, unjustly so. And then, comes back and kind of lives up to that billing in the tournament. Now, here's my question for you. Is he really going to be comfortable playing in this slow-down pace against Jay Wright? If we, just take a look back, is he really comfortable playing against Oregon when he was at Arizona State? Was he really comfortable playing at altitude against Colorado? I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think maybe people are a little overvaluing Remy Martin's little run here, and it might find its finish line against Villanova.
Okay, all right. Coaching. How important is coaching in the Final Four in general, and how important is it in this matchup?
Crucial. Absolutely crucial. College basketball is much more a coach's sport. The NBA is much more a player's sport. The coaching is always critical. You're not going to find a better out-of-timeout, baseline out-of-bounds, slob, sideline out-of-bounds coach than Coach Self. He's fantastic at it. You're also going to see Self throw a couple of junk defenses in. He does it every single tournament. He hasn't implemented that quite yet, or just dispatched that out onto the court yet. But he'll throw in a box and one. He'll throw in a kooky 1-3-1. He'll throw in a triangle and 2. So I bet that Coach Self is going to have a couple of those old tricks up his sleeve and show those out. And we've seen what Jay Wright has done. Jay Wright's only won 2 of the past 5 tournaments. Okay, he's a great coach. And he's done it without elite NBA talent. Yes, I know Bridges is a starter for the Suns. I know that Sadiq Bey put up 51 with the Pistons. I get all that. But we're not talking he's a top 5 pick and he's from Villanova. That's not the type of talent that he's doing it with. Mm-hmm. So I think that Jay Wright has something figured out too. And nobody plays better off of 2 feet, off of the jump shot, off of the jump stop, than Villanova players. Totally fundamentally sound in the lane, always making good decisions, never out of control. You never see them stuck in the air, making a pass or trying to make a play. Their decision's already made for them, and that's coaching.
Speaking of coaching, the next matchup, got a kind of a little bit of mismatch here in this one with the legendary Coach K going against first-year head coach Hubert Davis. Maybe not the coaching, but how much is the emotion of everything that's going on with K? How much do you think that factors into things right now?
It's a great question, Christian. I don't know, unless you're in the locker room or on the practice floor with those 2 squads, if you could get a true feel for that. I don't even think if you're there at an open practice, you'll get an honest, authentic, emotional attachment to what's happening with these 2 teams. UNC has been kind of waiting on this the whole season. They've had to figure some things out. They've played forever with 2 traditional bigs with a delayed break, offensive rebounding with Coach Williams. Coach Davis has definitely tried to mix it up a little bit and change some things. He wants to shoot the 3 a little bit more. He wants to run the same as Coach Williams, but he's more concerned with getting good shots for his playmakers on the perimeter and then going 4 out, 1 in with Baycott. He's not concerned about running 2 bigs and doing some post-to-post passing. Now, if we take a look at the Duke side, Coach K can say all he wants, this isn't a big deal, this doesn't matter, my players aren't affected by it. Yeah, they have to be. They absolutely have to be. And we saw that firsthand the last matchup with UNC and Duke, we saw how much maybe the unmeasured emotional toll that this whole thing of Coach K's last go-around goes. I don't know if Coach K is going to be exactly like Derek Jeter on his last go-around, where maybe he walks off with a base hit and walks off with a home run and walks up. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but he did make a Final Four, and that might be a nice poetic ending for him.
I mean, I got a buddy who wanted St. Peter's. He thought St. Peter's winning would have been the bigger storyline, and we're just like, you're out of your mind. North Carolina versus Duke in the Final Four, KHK. I mean, how is this going to set ratings records? Is this the biggest college basketball game ever, pretty much?
Absolutely. I think because the game is on TNT, obviously they're not going to have the numbers because, CBS reaches, 100 million, 50 million extra homes besides TNT. So I think, overall numbers, it might be down. But I bet for any college basketball game ever viewed on TNT, it'll definitely break any record and maybe even set the standard from here on out. I'm with you on that, Christian. I think it's going to be one of the most watched Final Fours of all time.
So we got Duke -4, 151. Break it down. Where do you see this one landing?
Tough. I think that number 151, that's really interesting because we've seen both Duke and Carolina get up and down and score 90-plus points in contests this season. It's there for the taking. And we know that both of them want to get up and down. Coach K wants Paolo to get a ton of touches. He wants Griffin to get a bunch of touches on the wing. And on the other side, Hubert Davis wants his guards, Love and Davis, to jack a bunch of threes and get a bunch of touches on the perimeter and to run that thing and to have pounded into Baycott. So we know that they want to have opportunities. You know what's going to happen? What we previously just talked about. The emotional toll is going to take, and we're going to have a slow-down game. And I think that's where Paolo is going to be the best player on the floor. I don't necessarily know if they have somebody that can contain him. I'm not sure if Baycott can do that. I don't know if Leaky Black is thick enough, long enough, wide enough to do that. So I think that might be the matchup to pay attention to. And if I was going to lean one way or the other, even though my heart might say the other way, I think I like Duke. And I might even give another point or two if it was, if it happens to fluctuate from now until game time.
Okay. How much is the dome fact? It seems like the under in both. How much does the dome also add on? I think I saw something where it was the last time they played in the Final Four, all the games went under. The time before that, they all went over. How much is playing in that dome impact totals?
I think playing in the dome combined with having a gazillion fans there again is not anything anybody on either roster has experienced. Thanks to COVID the past couple of years, they've played with empty gyms, empty coliseums, empty arenas, empty domes. This is going to be the first situation where there are people absolutely bananas and clamoring for this thing. Shooters have not, shot with that background, with that space, with that air, with that sound, right? So I unless you have somebody like a Buddy Hield or a Trae Young or somebody that's going to be lights out. Maybe Griffin is that person. I don't know if he's necessarily on those guys' level. So I think where you have the productive, efficient player on the inside, whether it be Baycott or Paolo, or on Villanova's side, maybe it's they put Colin on the block. How they love to run that offense through him, and then maybe for Kansas, maybe that's Braun and Ochai driving it to the hoop. I think that's where you're going to get most of your money made. So I think if you're banking on a bunch of three-pointers, I don't know if that's going to be the thing. That's why maybe you want to lean the under there, I think.
Okay. So you got Duke making it through to Monday night. Do you like Villanova to make it through on the court, or do you just like them with the points and see Kansas winning?
No, I like them making it.
Okay.
I like them making it. So I think I like Duke-Villanova Final here, and we can officially – I feel like there's been a conversation Villanova isn't really a blue blood. Who cares? They're one of the best programs in the country, and that's the way that I'm going to speak about them from now until we're done talking about college basketball, and everybody else should too.
Where do you think that number would fall? What would be the look ahead on that?
That's a good question. I'm going to guess if we have a Duke-Villanova situation, I'm going to say it's probably going to be within a point or two, and I would say maybe it would start with Villanova favored by 0.5 or 1.
Okay.
And then, of course, that loads all the money up on Duke. So I think that would be exactly what Vegas would want.
and obviously, it's hard to pick that game without a official number. But how would those two teams match up, in your opinion?
Oh, I think that's where maybe Villanova and their minutes would get a little bit exposed, and I think the talent that's on the other side with Duke, because there is that. I don't know. What do you think? 4 lottery, not 4 lottery picks, 4 first round picks.
First rounders, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's maybe where that talent gap stretches out a little bit. So I think I would like Duke in that matchup, which is like crazy if you think about it at the beginning of the year. And again, we go back to the previous part of our conversation here, Christian, where we saw Providence in that last game, and you had that bad taste in your mouth. And the same thing with Duke losing to Virginia Tech. But different results.
That's right. All right, folks, so you heard. If you have your brackets, if you're still waiting on Kansas or Duke winning the brackets, we'll see. But if you're still, in a heated build your bankroll contest like myself, Gus likes Nova, he likes Duke, and the unders in both, and then we'll see where we land on Monday night. So make sure you check out Gus and Mike on Screen to Screener podcast. You can get them on Twitter at SDS Podcast. Gus, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it.
No problem, Christian. Always great to talk college hoops, and thanks for the invite. And I hope that all of your listeners out there enjoy the games and maybe find an angle or two in this conversation that they can, maybe put a wager on.
Let's go.